Well, my name is Danny Mayer. I'm 83 years old now. I was married to my wife for 62 years. When we first got married, I had two little boys, and I left to go on the road with a rock and roll band called the Atlantics. I toured for a few years. Then I decided to come home and get into the country and Western music, which I do part-time. And before I took off in 1959, I filled in for Ronnie Hawkins at the Babbler Tavern in Toronto. And anyways, in the old days in Yonge Street, we used to go to the Lecoq Door, because Ronnie used to play there with Robbie Robinson and all the gang. They call them the band now. Most of them are gone, except for, I think, Robbie's still alive. And we all get together, but I filled in for him with the Atlantics. Then I headed to the States. But Ronnie was doing the show at the Dick Clark. And that's when he had that record out. I think it was, I forget now what it was, but he was on the Dick Clark show. And that was quite an experience, but I knew Ronnie well. We run across each other quite a few times. As a matter of fact, I was in Norville playing the Hollywood House, and he was across the road at the Riviera. And he come over during intermission, and we got shooting the bull. Another guy I used to come and drink a lot with was Stompin' Tom. They're all gone now, good guys. Yeah, old Stompin' Tom. As a matter of fact, he lived just around the corner from me in the Georgetown area. Oh, Yorkville, yeah. Yorkville was the place to be. In the old days, it was Murray McLaughlin and Gordon Lightfoot. We used to go to the coffee houses there, and they were always in there with their guitars doing their thing. Yeah, it was a booming thing in this was the late 50s. And I can remember opening up just after I did that thing for Ronnie, we went to Hamilton. I was at the Flamingo Club in Hamilton. And my buddy Donnie, who played drums for me, he was also did some booking on the side. So he says to me, he says, I got to go to the airport, and I'm picking up a young guy he's a comedian, so he's going to be playing part of the night with us. So when we're off set, he'll come in. And anyways, he was introduced to me, come through the door. Donnie says, I want you to meet Richard Pryor. He says, he's from Peoria, Illinois. And Richard Pryor, yeah, he's a comedian. So anyways, by the end of the month when we left there, Richard he used to fill the whole place up. And we became good friends. Richard Pryor, he's gone too. But I remember partying with Richard very well. So there's a lot of stories when you're an old man. You meet a lot of good people. As a matter of fact, in the early 60s, after I was just about ready to give it up, I opened up for Bill Haley and the Comets at the Junction right here in Toronto. And that was an experience and a half, because most of these guys are all gone now. But having known and met them, it's... And then the funny thing is, in my country days, CFGM was a radio station in Toronto, and Stan Campbell was a DJ there. And when my album came out, he was playing it on the radio, and then he booked me at the Minkler Auditorium. And I was there with Roy Payne and Honey West and Ian Tyson, of all people. Well, I just moved up here, but prior to moving up here, when I lived in the Brampton area, the wife and I used to come to this flea market. Yeah, it was usually a weekend thing. We enjoyed coming up here. The 400 Flea Market, one of the better places around. Yeah.
And so you just were in the market when you saw the music here?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I was just coming down the aisle and I happened to stop at the music store over there and I asked, is there anybody who knows any recording studios? And they said, wow, right down the end of the hall here. So here I am. Yes, Russ, this is quite a nice setup you got. And the good thing about it is that you're promoting Canadian talent, which is right in our vicinity. There's so much talent in this area.
Tell us a little bit about Danny and the Mavericks.
Well, Danny and the Mavericks started after I come back off the road with the Atlantics. I was raised on Airport Road in Malton when it was just a little gravel road. And my dad always loved country music, so I was raised on country music. But then when I was a teenager, Elvis come out. And everybody seemed to like the rock and roll, so I ended up joining a bunch of guys, and we toured all through the States and Canada. As a matter of fact, right here at the Barrie Arena in the, I would say, the early 60s, we backed up a guy called Bobby Freeman. And Bobby Freeman was, he had that hit out, do you want to dance and hold my hand? Anyways, that was a hoot. And then we did a show in the Owen Sound Arena for teenagers. And then after that, I gave up the rock and roll and went back to my roots, which is country music. And then I formed the Danny Mayer and the Mavericks. And a young fella, DJ in Peterborough, caught us. And Sean Eyre was his name, and I think he's still around. So, yeah, he released our record, and it did very well. So, and I've been doing that part-time, though I have retired for a few years. But like you say, country music's in your blood. It doesn't matter how old you are.